Wow, I went on a lot longer than I had originally planned to for that one. I hope that I'm actually able to put that up on YouTube. Anyway, this is Alan G. Davis, and I'm going to continue on with my beef with J.K. Rowling, so to speak. Okay, now this sort of complaint I actually have is that we have what I would call like spans of time in between the books, and I can understand why she did it for like maybe the first, second, and third and so forth. But after the resurrection of the of Voldemort, the one who must not be named. It sort of did bother me a little bit is that you never actually really find out what the other characters are doing at this time. And I mean, we have like a 3 month span, if we're going by American standards, of Harry sitting at home doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I can understand why you skip over that. But there are so many other characters in the story itself that would be so interesting as to what they are doing. I'll take, for example, my favorite character, hands down, has to be Sirius Black. I really like him. I was really pissed off when he ended up getting killed. And and that's sort of the whole thing behind my fan fiction, is just sort of making it so I don't have to worry about him getting killed off in the story. Moving on, now that I've shamefully plugged in my own work, me and my fiance's work in there, is that I would have loved to have known what he's doing, what he would be required to do to avoid the Ministry, what he would have to do to change things up. Like, I would have loved to have had, like, maybe a short story, or maybe a prologue, or an epilogue, or a small book in between the stories, focusing on a different character. I mean, there are some seriously interesting characters out there in this world, and we never really get to hear about what they are doing. What about Dumbledore? What is Dumbledore doing about all this stuff? What is he actually doing? Besides supposedly holding meetings in the middle of a old rundown building of a guy who's on the run from the Ministry of Magic. What is he doing during this entire event? Is he hunting down people? Is he looking for leads? Is he actually checking things out? I mean, he has Hagrid go off and talk to the giants. What happens there? That would have been an interesting story. What's Hagrid been up to since the very first book? Since outside of the events of the second one and maybe a little bit in the third one, he really hasn't been given a whole lot to do. He just sort of pops in every now and then whenever J.K. Rowling needs to explain something, show something, little bit pieces, so to speak. I mean, I don't even think he did anything all that important in the sixth one. Or was it the seventh one? One of the two. He just didn't really do a whole lot. And it's kind of like, yes, what is Hagrid up to? What is McGonagall up to? What is all of these other characters going on in these events that are transpiring around them? And it's not so much as that it would be a bad idea or it would disrupt the flow or stuff like that, but it would definitely make the adults look more competent. It would make them look better. It would make them look like they're actually trying, and we would see Voldemort for not just a one-trick pony of getting his ass kicked by Harry Potter at every frickin' turn. I mean, that would be a lot more interesting. It would be a lot more valuable. I mean, what happened to Tonks? What happened to Remus Lupin after he got sacked? I mean, we have all of these interesting characters in this world that J.K. Rowling has created, and she has done nothing with them. Nothing. And it just boggles my mind. I can tell you right here, right now, based off of just my Blessed series itself, I could tell you a good 20 different stories of different characters and what happened to them after the events of the first book. In fact, I actually intend to write a book about one of the characters, in particularly called Mabush, who was a villain in the first book. He's still technically a villain, but, you gotta read the story to kind of understand how I can actually tell a story about a villain after he's been a villain in the first book. Read the book, maybe you'll be interested, maybe not. If you don't want to, don't have to, whatever. You can even ask me, I might even give you a free copy, because, right now, publicity is more important than money. In fact, a lot of things are more important than money. Love is more important than money. Getting off topic again! Mitchell, you are shamelessly plugging it, and I just said my real name. It's not like the internet, they'd find out anyway. Anyway. Is that there's just so much. There's just so many interesting things and so many interesting characters, and we do so little with them. What happened to James? What happened to what did he do? What were they involved in? How did someone like James and Lily get involved in the events that get involved in the Order of the Phoenix. They don't really seem like the type. I don't know, what I've seen, they don't really seem like the type of people to go looking for trouble. Well, maybe James was, but I don't know. Lily seems like she's pretty level-headed. Fanfiction is so much fun, isn't it? Anyway, there's just a severe lack of anyone else getting the spotlight besides Harry, Hermione, and Ron, and there's all these other characters that would be so interesting. And in some cases, she flat out goes against what you would think a normal human being would do. One instance in the last book where Lupin shows up because he wants to help them, and Harry gets mad at him because he's got a son on the way. And this is the kind of part where I just look at Harry and I'm like, you have an adult, a competent adult who knows the world at least decently good. He's damn good with a wand, and you are literally shooing him back to his family. I mean, as a guy who's, been around the block a little bit, I've had a lot of time to think, and I've got a lot of imagination. I don't talk to a whole lot of people, and so I literally have inwardly brought in my psyche and my intelligence and stuff like that. And so I look at this and I'd be like, if I was Lupin, I would say, Harry, there is going to be no world worth living in if Voldemort wins. You need the fucking help. I'm going to give you my wand, and you are going to have me tag along whether you like it or not. And you can insult me, and you can complain to me, and you can say it's not fair that my child may grow up without it. Well, guess what? He dies in the end anyway. Who freaking cares? Yeah, she has a bad habit of doing that. Congratulations. But you get the idea, is that you don't give... You create this really intelligent world. You create this... Well, not necessarily very intelligent world. There's some pretty freaking big idiots in it, but beside the point. You got all these interesting characters, and you literally are shoving them aside for Harry, Hermione, and Ron. Harry is a reacting character. He has nothing that's really been drawn out throughout the course of the story. You have Ron, who in some cases can be very mean and very selfish for no... Well, he's got good reasons, I suppose, but they're not exactly the most interesting he's not the most interesting of characters to watch. And you have Hermione, who is an interesting character, but literally, she wouldn't really have a whole lot to do if it weren't for Harry being such a reacting character. But you sort of get what I'm going for, I hope, is that she's got all these interesting characters who just don't do anything. I mean, I can understand Mr. and Mrs. Weasley not getting involved. They have kids. They have people they have to look out for and stuff like that. What about the auras that are behind all of this? The people who are hunting people down, kind of like Moody was doing and stuff. What are they doing? What about everybody who doesn't necessarily have a family? And then everybody else, all of the other wizards, just roll over. And it's kind of like, no, this isn't what adults do. And for another point, what about the other governments that are going on? What about the other countries and stuff like that? Why is nobody even slightly concerned that an individual as powerful and vindictive and evil as Voldemort is literally taking over the British equivalent of their magical government, and nobody gets involved? Do you not know anything about America? We cannot help but stick our noses on shit, especially if there is even the slightest hint of a possibility that it might actually come back and kill somebody on our own soil. We're kind of very defensive like that. I mean, have you seen 9/11? We get a little worried. And that's just the public. God knows how high-strung the actual people are who are hunting these people down. It just doesn't work, alright? You introduced so many other things going on in the fourth. You've showed us so many other things, and yet you do not do anything with them. For Pete's sake, Dumbledore is literally training the last hope the entire government has, and he doesn't take his time out to actually teach him a couple of really good spells that might actually save his life. I mean, you don't do that. You don't get away with that. Any person who had even the slightest concept of actual foreplanning would realize that Harry might not necessarily be very well prepared for this situation, and wildly throwing him off into the winds in search for other Horcruxes without any actual serious training. I mean, brilliant. Just brilliant, Dumbledore. You are an amazing character and everything, but that does not seem like a very bright idea. Not a very bright idea at all. And wow. Severus Snape. let's go talk about him. When I first found out that he was actually a good guy, he was helping Harry the entire time, I was like, oh joy, he's completely and totally a dick for almost the entire book series, and one little thing does not really redeem him in my eyes. And it's kind of like, why? Why were you so mean to everybody? I can kind of understand Harry. I can kind of understand Ron. He's a bit of a turd. And I can... Why were you picking on poor Neville that much? I mean, seriously, the poor kid is so scared of you. His Boggart is literally you. You have to work at terrifying a child if that is exactly what they see, especially when they're in their, 11... 12 years old. Okay, you have to try to be that mean. And Hermione, I'm guessing, might probably share some very, very coincidental things that go alongside of Lily, and you love this woman so badly that you are hugging her dead corpse in front of her crying son, which also was kind of creepy. I mean, why are you picking on this poor girl? I mean, oh my god. I mean, who in the world is in charge of actually monitoring these teachers? I mean, seriously, this guy is vindictive. I mean, and that's another thing, is that there is such a lack of communication in this world. You would think Harry, after failing to inform the headmaster that you are hearing voices in the pipes, and the very possibility of there being a giant snake roaming around killing all of the students, instead of going to Dumbledore, or telling him the truth in any way, shape, or form, or even trying to get some psychiatric help if you are actually going insane, let's go solve the problem by ourselves, shall we? And I can understand in certain circumstances, like in the third one, where, telling Dumbledore wouldn't have really done anything. It's kind of like, honesty, people! Honesty! It would go so dang far, and it would make your lives so much easier. And it's like, oh my god, just tell the damn truth, please! We don't have to ignore each other. We don't have to yell at... I mean, how much faith does he put in Dumbledore? I mean, it wouldn't be so bad if he had no faith in Dumbledore whatsoever, but decided because he has no plan he would go with Dumbledore's anyway. That would be kind of interesting. But no, he has so much faith in Dumbledore, and yet he refuses to tell the truth in Dumbledore. And it's kind of like, Harry, do you not recall what happened the year before, or the year before that, or the year before that? Another thing, Professor McGonagall, other teachers, Harry has gotten involved with God knows how many different plots, how many different events that have basically transpired around him because he is the boy who lived. Does anybody realize the boy who called Wolf only qualifies when he is loud out lying and you catch him in said lie? Take the threat seriously, dang it! He's got people who want him dead. You would think they'd be a little bit more concerned with something like that going on. Oh, buttocks! This is just... I'm going at a terrible rant right now, and this is just... But you understand what I have so many problems with this story. And then, of course, we have the time turner. I don't care if they do say so in the actual book that they destroyed every single one. Books! You cannot destroy everything. The government doesn't have that much control. I'm sorry, it doesn't work that way. The government can't stop piracy. It can't stop me from going on YouTube and watching videos of My Little Pony, and it cannot go out in the entire world and destroy every single time turner. It just doesn't work that way. There is limitations. I mean, seriously, where this could have been very vital and very important for turning back just a little bit of time. And that's just it. Nothing seems to carry over. What happened to the Phoenix? What happened to Fluffy? What happened to all of these other events and magical things? And what happened to Igor? Did he get hunted down and get killed? I mean, nothing seems to really carry over besides just the characters. Nothing of their experiences really impact them or influence them. And I'm going to have to wind this rant down a little bit, but that's sort of just what I don't really like. And in fact, I go against it in my stories. The second book takes place only 2 weeks after the first one, and all they've really done is some traveling. I mean, it picks, like, right up after that. it's just Alan G. Davison signing out.